But he's able to makes it win anything. Sam, defend your team because they haven't won.
Strap yourselves in, it's another 1 hour episode.
Oh yeah.
Spike defused.
To Defuse, your weekly source for Valorant-related news and discussion. I'm Nara Mizuki, aka Sam. I'm going to be your host because Mike is off in Poland doing like DreamHack things. I don't know. He thinks he's cool. I say that it's weekly. It has been a while since we've had a show, so it's good to be back. I missed you all. And we have some pretty cool faces. We have one returning face in the cast, Twiggy, who does EMEA VCT. How are you doing today, Twiggy?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Doing pretty good, thanks. We also have the coach of Supermassive Blaze. Now, this is a name, or a face rather, that you might not be familiar with, but certainly you should be familiar with the team. We have Coach Tanisk, or Tanis HQ. How are you doing today?
Not too bad right now.
He did ask me specifically not to introduce him like that, but I am me, so I will. It is actually Tanisk and not Tanis HQ.
A lot worse with that. Don't worry.
Oh, sorry, not sorry. All right, well, let's jump straight into it. We're going to be starting with Run It Back, where we discuss some of the roster moves that have been happening. Now, again, it has been about 3 weeks since we've had an episode, so we are just going to cut it down to some of the more kind of pertinent roster changes that have happened. We're starting off with 100 Thieves, who have made a couple of changes. First and foremost, Boy has been moved to the active roster, and of course, Steel has been moved to inactive. He says that he's not done competing, but yeah, he's not going to be with 100 Thieves. Twiggy, what do we make of these moves?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think it was surprising to everyone when it came out, because Steel obviously didn't perform badly at all in Masters, and he's always been a brilliant player, but maybe, you could question the decision to put Boy ahead of him on the squad, but I think it's probably more to do with, well, obviously I don't know anything behind the scenes, but it could be stuff like, obviously, your skill is only half of the game. It's going to be, how you work with your teammates. Maybe there's some problems going on behind the scenes. I don't know, but that's just how it is, and it's a move that we'll see how it works out. They've probably been trying out with kind of Boy as the sub. He's probably been testing himself with the active roster for a while now.
Tanis, any thoughts?
I mean, after you lose in the fashion they did to Envy, sometimes you just got to make a change. Even if it's getting rid of a very good player, sometimes a bit of a team refresh is what's needed. We saw G2 do it. We saw Sen do it going into stage 3, and it paid off for them. Like, they got rid of very good players, but it doesn't matter if you just reset the mentality on the team and get a bit of a honeymoon period going, which is, I think, what they need for Last Chance Qualifier.
And one of the other moves they made is they brought in 7 from Team Seal to be their kind of main substitute. But with that being a sub role, there's potential there for some play time, but unfortunately not main roster. This is a crack player, though. We've seen him kind of in the tier 2 scene. So looking forward to seeing what he's going to bring to the table. Next up, of course, is FaZe, who have made a change to their coaching lineup. They've brought on JDM, previously of Counter-Strike fame. And Twiggy, what do we think of this one?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him kind of been part of the Valorant scene for a while now. I think he quit CS:GO like 4 months ago, something like that. And yeah, he's been looking on Twitter for a coaching role for a while now. And I'm quite surprised that the first team to pick him up was FaZe out of everybody. But well, I mean, we'll see how he does. He's definitely got tenure as a cracked CS:GO player, and I'm excited to see how he does as a coach now.
I think
Ty,
it's
is there any
just what this
insight
team
there?
needs, actually. Yeah, I think it's exactly what this team needs, because they have a lot of Overwatch experience. Like 4 of their players are from Overwatch, so they need that that person to come in from CS and actually bring them that side of what Valorant is. And I think there's no one better than an ex-CS player itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing
I
what
think
he's going to
they'll
bring to the
do.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think they'll do very well in Last Chance Qualifier with them.
cool. Unfortunately, we don't have our resident CS expert in Mike. Again, DreamHack, Katowice thinks he's cool. But yeah, I think that, as you said, having someone who's really experienced in that scene and with the whole TAC FPS background, bringing that knowledge to the forefront for a team like FaZe, who have already been doing really well with just kind of the Overwatch background, you bring that little bit of extra information, extra training as well. I think that this could do some really good things. We're moving on to NRG. Now, this to me was an interesting one. They've benched Weedid, who they had picked up a few months ago. Of course, Weedid kind of known as that Viper one trick, quote unquote. But now, unfortunately, it seems he's been benched. Twiggy, what do we make of it?
I mean, look, out of all of the 5 players, would you think Weedid is the one that's going to be benched from the team? Probably not. But NRG, they've gone from being quite a quite a good team in stage 2, stage 1, and now, I mean, they didn't even get out of open qualifiers in stage 3. So I mean, they did need to change something. Whether Weedid is the correct change remains to be seen. But I'm not really too concerned about what they do here, as long as they get a better like just any better result going next time.
Yeah, I think it's not that Weedid's like a bad player or anything. I think they just needed to make a change and free up a slot for all of the free agents which are going to be coming up after Last Chance Qualifier. I think that's the main reason to do it. It's just so you can actually get someone new in, not because you want to specifically replace this person.
Mm-hmm. I think also with the fact that he plays predominantly Viper, and Viper hasn't been as strong on as many maps as of late, kind of want to get yourself a more flexible player that player can kind of potentially bring to the team as well. Moving on from NRG, we have Liquid, who have made 2 moves. First and foremost, Cryptix will be taking a step back due to his own kind of personal reasons. And Nevera coming over from Vitality CSGO and immediately gets snapped up by Liquid. This does, if I'm not mistaken, leave one gap unannounced in Liquid's roster, but it looks like they're moving in the right direction, Twiggy.
Yeah, I mean, it's Cryptix. It's a good thing to take a break for personal reasons. Obviously, a lot of players do get burned out or just completely. There's a reason why the esports scene has such a short lifespan for players, and it's usually to do with burnout and stuff like that. So whatever the reasons behind his stepping back is, good on him. And I mean, Nevera, obviously, he's the brother of one of the players on Team Liquid. So I mean, they have a good amount of working together. They've worked together in CSGO. They'll probably work just as well together in Valorant.
My goodness. Yeah, I think it's a great move going into Last Chance Qualifier, actually. That team really needed a refresh because their results so far were not amazing, like throughout the whole year even. And if Cryptix is taking some time for personal reasons, it's the perfect time to bring someone in. And what better person than someone from a top CS team, The only reason he was even dropped from Vitality was because of Valve's 6-man roster rules, not because of anything to do with his skill. So if you can pick up someone like that, bring him into your team, you already have some synergy with Scream, that should be an instant fit. It's going to be scary.
I'm curious.
Going up against him, actually.
The one thing I'm curious about is what role they're going to put him on. Because I've noticed that a lot of players that have recently made the switch from CSGO kind of seem to shine a little bit more in the supportive roles at the start while they kind of get used to the utility usage. I don't know if you guys have any kind of thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, well, Navera was an operator player, an op player in CS:GO for the most part for a while there. So, I mean, they did have some problems with who was playing the operator in Team Liquid. Maybe he'll take on a jet operator role, and Scream will step back towards, secondary duelist or Sage or something like that. But I mean, there's so many kind of like Team Liquid has always had a bit of a problem with how they kind of work around the operator thing and who plays what. So I think it could possibly work really well.
Yeah, I'm not so sure if he'll be on the jet operator role. I think he's going to be more actually just replacing Cryptix on the Sentinel, maybe a second support agent role. I think he'll be good for that because he is a really smart player. It's not like he's all aim, no brain or anything like that. In CS, he was a very, very smart player, and it should fit. Like their scrim results have been spectacular from what I hear with him. So, yeah, gonna look forward to that.
I think it's going to be spicy. The next topic, of course, might hit a little bit close to home for you, Tan, this is Heretics, who have now, for those that don't know, Tan is actually used to coach Heretics, and they've now benched Patatek and Emilwa, and Jonta has also been moved to the inactive roster. What do we make of this one, Tan? I want to get your opinion on this first.
I'm not sure how you can bench a coach. That's a new one for me. Yeah, I don't know. That was a weird tweet to read. As for Patatek and Emilwa, it was obvious that something wasn't working, and I don't want to comment too much on this because this isn't for the public. But yeah, if those in charge of the team don't want someone, it will just happen like that. And it seems that these guys didn't live up to standards. It sucks a bit for Emilwa, just because he only had like half a tournament basically with the team, and that was enough to gauge him. But yeah, he's a really like up and coming player. So I thought they would keep him and get rid of Patatek and maybe someone else. But yeah, it's surprising to see him go into free agency for sure.
Yeah, me and Lothar were actually watching Heretics all the way from the start of Open Qualifiers in Challengers 2, Stage 3, all the way up until they got knocked out by 10-Star. And I mean, it was very obvious, I think, during the 10-Star game that it wasn't quite right, because they immediately, they picked Breeze, which was 10-Star's worst map, and 10-Star wiped the floor with them. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's obviously some kind of problem going on within the team, and like making a change like that, including benching a coach, maybe, breaking the mold a little bit with that kind of move could work for them.
I mean, me and Paro were watching that game versus 10-Star. It was it was an odd game to watch. It was they were buying like marshals every round. They were their plan basically was just Alorante go kill for most of it. we saw like a monster on the Cypher pick up the AWP a lot as well. I don't know what was going on that game. It was just very odd. I think the team was in a weird place then.
Yeah.
And that's probably why they didn't make it through. But yeah, it's just odd.
Maybe what they meant by Jonta benched is he's no longer the coach. He's now a sub. Now he's going to come play for the team. I don't know.
That'd be great.
Be interesting. Yeah, I'll be really interested to see who they eventually do pick up. Of course, they're not in LCQ, so not a huge rush to actually get that sorted out, but definitely something to keep an eye on. Now, next up, we've got Immortals that have also made a couple of moves recently. They've dropped Chemicals, and it seems Gunba has left of his own volition. Twiggy, what do you think of that?
It's been kind of sad seeing the kind of very slow fall of Immortals from stage 1, where they came first in the US kind of challenger stuff, and then they kind of barely got through challengers qualifiers in stage 2, and then they didn't even get through qualifiers in stage 3. And I mean, it's slowly going downhill, and it's like watching the Titanic, but maybe. I mean, they've got venture capital. They've got venture capitals behind them, so I don't see why they can't sign good players now that people are kind of moving around.
I think the performance in stage 1 and early in the year was just because of the way NA played as well at that point. If you watch the games, it was mainly due to Shot Up and his Reyna. He would just destroy. Like, when you come up against a Reyna who is just dropping like 2-3 kills every round, there's not much you can do on the enemy team, to be honest. Like, no matter what your strats are. And I think most of their success came down to him just fragging out. And then people started to move away from that sort of Reyna meta. The Viper came into meta. They fell off a bit because of that, and I don't think they've managed to get back up since.
Shut up, go kill. This seems to be like a common trend these days, kind of hero plays and less really focusing on how well you kind of synergize as a team. And obviously that can be problematic, particularly when you come up against a team who has someone that goes kill, but there's also that kind of supportive backbone that keeps that going. So we'll keep an eye on what happens there. Again, also no huge rush to sort that roster out. So we'll just keep tabs on that one. Moving on over into the female scene, we have CLG. They were just recently in the main event for GC NA, and they recently dropped Chobo and Naomi, but of course Naomi got picked up to a different team, one that I can't think of off the top of my head right this second. Yes, yeah, that's right. They picked up Just Breathe plus Naomi. That's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, we had Game Changers this weekend. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later on. But Twiggy, what do you make of these changes?
Yeah, I mean, CLG Red has always been like a really kind of one of the more dominant teams in the NA region for Game Changers. Obviously, difficult to kind of be at the top spot right now in NA with Cloud9 White up there, but
C9 existing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they needed to make changes, but it's probably they know more what's going on behind the scenes than I do, so I'm sure it's positive changes going forward.
Yeah, I think it's just a case of having another refresh. These players are clearly good enough. They found teams which are also doing very well right now, but they're just trying to swap out pieces till they get something which can rival Cloud9, I think, which is what most teams are doing right now.
That seems to be the end goal, unfortunately. And sticking with kind of female teams, but we're heading on over into the EMEA region. Now, there isn't too much to discuss here. It's just really exciting. Project X, who I had touted as the top unsigned team in the region, just got picked up by Guild, which is really, really exciting for them. Unfortunately, they did get knocked out. They made it to the main event. They got knocked out in the round of 16 to Rick's GG Lightning, who went on to get second place in the tournament. So not the worst performance that could have been, but it's really nice to see that more orgs are getting involved, and particularly an org like Guild. So we're just actually going to kind of go over that one. We head on to the next topic. That was just kind of a for your information, feels good moment. We're going to head on over to C9, who have also made some changes both to roster and of course to coaching. Everyone was kind of hoping that we'd get that Chaos Esports reunion going with the entire CS roster just about moving over, but it seems that that's not to be. Instead, they've brought over Vexel as their new coach, and they've parted ways with Floppy. Tanny, what do you think of that?
To be honest, I'm not too sure about what to make of this. It's not a team you see that often or like is very memorable. I don't know. Like I remember a lot of the NA teams, but Cloud9 for me is just not that memorable in like how they play or like even who's on the team. Like I struggle to name you all 5 players right now, so it's not much I can comment on, to be honest.
Holy, that's an oof. Twiggy, what about you? Save us, we're drowning here.
I mean, can I really like dispute what he's saying? Cloud9 they're a team in every esport you expect to excel, and they haven't really made that kind of an inroad in Valorant so far. They need to change things around because they haven't really been a top team in the region. And hey, I mean, look, at this point, maybe just move to Europe, see how you do here.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting though, because this is a team that, as much as they don't get those like ridiculous placements often, they're still always kind of there on the back burner, kind of in the conversation, but not really. So like they're not really competing in the NSG monthlies, for example, because they're still doing well enough in VCT, but not well enough on the on like the grand scale of things. So yeah, I think changes are definitely necessary, but how these changes are really going to affect them going forward, I suppose yet to find out. Again, it's one of those things where they're not in LCQ, so they don't have a major time crunch that they need to pay attention to. Yeah. All right, next up.
Weird anyway.
Yeah, the whole academy team concept is just really strange in general, because like I don't see teams moving players up into the main roster, and with the way that Valorant is organized at the moment, when do academy teams play? They just play in the tournaments that the main team don't want to play in or can't play in. I think more than anything, it's just about having a finger in every pie, I suppose, and getting that exposure. But apart from that, it's really odd. Unless franchise is coming, but Riot have said that it's not this coming year. So even then, I don't know. I don't know what these teams are thinking.
Who knows?
But let's move on. Back to the FE scene. We have Rix GG, as I mentioned. They just came second in the Game Changers EMEA. And so obviously this had happened prior to the tournament, but they picked up Noya. And I must say, I don't know about you guys, but I felt like she really helped step up this team. Twiggy, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, she came from Freya, if I remember correctly. And I mean, that was the... As I said, well, we were following Heretics in stage 3 qualifiers. Freya were the first team to come up against Heretics. They won the first round of open qualifiers and then came up against Heretics. And I mean, they played okay against Heretics, which is not something you'd expect in that kind of, Heretics massive team. Freya kind of, unsigned women's team, and it was genuinely great to watch them. I mean, they took like, maybe 10 rounds over both games, but it was yeah, I mean, Noya's a great player, part of that. I remember screaming her name quite a lot, I think, during that game. So, yeah, it's a good pickup, and Rix Lightning is already a really strong team. So, yeah.
Yeah, that team is actually really good. Like, we scrim them like a decent amount, and I know a lot of other tier 1 teams even do scrim them. For the pickup, I actually think she did insane in the finals. She had a lot of clutch moments, which I did not expect. Like winning these 1v3 clutches on Bind, which is ultimately what won them the map, was pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, I mean, Rix was this team who were kind of the best in the entire region at the start of the year. But back then they were known as Legals, and they got picked up by Rix GG. But of course, all of the Huntress trials, the female events throughout the year are sponsored by Rix. So kind of a conflict of interest there. They weren't able to compete for months. When they finally came back for a tournament, it was either, I think it was Birds of Prey 2 where they finally came back. It was either that one or it was the Women in Games Community Cup. But they came back and they looked not great, like not on the same level as they had been. So the pickup of Noya definitely helped level them up. I mean, particularly they beat Oxygen. Okay, I'm talking about GC when I shouldn't be yet. Let's move on. Otherwise, we're going to run out of things to talk about. This next one is a really interesting one for me on a couple of fronts. So this is Vitality, and they've picked up the coach of Anubis. Now, you guys might remember Anubis won the Campus Clash a few months ago, and they've now picked up the coach, Zaysh. But this is an interesting one for me because they picked up Shalabi and then proceeded to drop him after like 2 matches, and now they've picked up the coach. I don't know. It's really weird. What do you think of this one, Tani?
Something tells me that Zaysh, if that's how you say his name, I have no idea, was probably with the team when they picked up Shalabi. And that's what triggered that in the first place, because if they had done like actual trials, they would have seen that, his stats are a little bit skewed because of the region he plays in. So it's a questionable pickup at best. But he must be doing decent behind the scenes to be able to like lead the team here. And I know they have a big like rebuild on their hands, so he's going to be busy for the next couple months.
Yeah. I mean, there's always that kind of like when somebody comes over from another region, which is, I mean, MENA is not like a region that's known for its amazing Valorant gameplay in the world stage. So it's it's difficult to know exactly how well somebody's going to perform coming over from a different region like that. But I mean, Seish seems very competent. So I'm and Vitality did need some kind of a little step up in terms of maybe strategic gameplay. So. Yeah, I mean, it could be a really, really good choice.
Well, I've played Coach Pugs with him. He seems really nice. What that says about his coaching, not terribly much, but he's a nice person. So he's got that going for him if coaching doesn't work out. Next up, we're going to be looking at Gen G. Mikhail, I don't even know how to pronounce this. He's been benched from Gen G. That's a thing that happened. Twiggy, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like moving into Last Chance Qualifiers. A lot of teams really want to, we haven't done so well recently. Let's swap things about, see what happens. And I mean, yeah, it's another one of those kinds of ones where he's not a bad player at all, but they need to change something before they get into this one because if they continue at the same rate they did in series stage 3, they wouldn't get through Last Chance Qualifiers whatsoever. So.
Honestly, I don't think Gen G are even that bad. Like like watching them, I don't think it's a player issue. I think it's more a gameplay issue. And then they kicked their coach after stage 3, which made sense because then you bring a new coach in to fix those issues. But then they also kick the players, and that doesn't really make sense to me.
Yeah.
Like I'm not sure how you can change like both at the same time and expect it to work. So I don't have high hopes coming into them, like going into Last Chance Qualifier.
I suppose we have yet to see who they're actually going to bring in to replace Mikhail. But hopefully it's somebody really strong. They don't have a ton of time. I think LCQ is in 6 days. That's all right.
I know they got some.
A bit of a time crunch there. Oh, did they? I didn't see.
Yeah, they got a loan.
They picked up Temperature from EG. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I heard the Temperature was scrimming with them. I think this was like a George Geeds tweet from like 2 weeks ago. That's cool because I was wondering
4 days ago they got him on loan. Yeah.
Ooh, okay. I like that. That's because Temperature is cracked, and I suppose it makes sense because obviously EG are not in Last Chance. So yeah, this could be pretty big, not just for the team but for Temperature as well. If they do well, if they decide they want to hold on to him, that could be pretty big. All right, we're moving on over to XSET, and again, this is kind of like a feels good moment. They have picked up N2L. Now, of course, I spoke about the EMEA top unsigned team in Project X. N2L has been this team in NA for quite some time, so really exciting to see that they've been given that opportunity to represent an organization, and hopefully they do well with that one. They've already done reasonably well in the last Game Changers. So again, this is not really one for much discussion. It's just really nice to have, more org presence. What is worth noting, of course, that XSET dropped their female CSGO roster. That's now the originals. They had moved over. They decided they were moving over to Valorant, and XSET said, well, we don't want a European female team. We want to get a North American one. So they dropped the originals and they picked up N2L instead. So kind of sad for the originals, but I hear there might be good things on the horizon. There've been a few leaks there. So we'll see if that does come to fruition. But we're not a rumor mill here. So we'll head back. And again, still Gen G. I don't know how I mixed this up in the show run, but it is what it is. They have brought on a new coach in Elmer Putty. We just kind of mentioned that they had just dropped their coach recently. What do we think of Elmer Putty? Do we think he's going to make some big changes here, Twiggy?
Yeah, I mean, Elmer Putty, he's very lots of tenure in CSGO. Obviously, he did Gen G in CSGO relatively recently, and he led them to a lot of podiums. Moved over to Cloud9 and a little bit less success there, but I mean that's just how the cookie crumbles. And I mean, going over to Gen G once again, he's already familiar with the management, and he'll hopefully do as good a job on Valorant for them as he did in CSGO.
Yeah, I'm just interested to see if he fixes those like obvious mistakes, which you like even see as a viewer, because you don't know how a team fully works just by watching a stream, but you can definitely see tendencies which shouldn't be there just watching, and those need to be fixed. So hopefully that's like top of his list.
Cool. And the very last topic that we have here, and this is fairly recent, but it's Envy, who have decided that they're not signing Mike's HD. Now, this, of course, wasn't like announced by the organization. This was Mike's himself tweeted out. He said after a few months of waiting, nothing ever happened. And then they told him that he's not signed. Tanny, what do you think of that?
I don't know how this can happen, to be honest. Like, the guy...
I'll tell you why, it's because it's Envy.
Nah, even if it's Envy, like, I know a lot of people who work at Envy, like, some of them are good at their jobs, some of them aren't, but hopefully the ones who are good at their jobs would have seen this. Or, like, the players would have gone to the org and been like, yo, sign this guy, you know, which I'm sure they did as well. Because Mike's is a really, really good coach. I've spoken to him a lot. I've seen his analysis a lot. He knows what he's talking about. And he led them to the finals at Masters. That's not an easy achievement at all. Like, they outperformed every expectation they had. They weren't even supposed to qualify 2 Masters. No one had them in their like preds for that. And then this comes out. He's like, "Oh, I'm not going to continue on." If I'm Hastro at that point, I just throw money at him. I'm like, "No, you are staying here. Actually, you know, no other team's having you. We're definitely keeping you. We're sorry this happened. We'll give you a massive bonus to fix this. Just stay here and keep helping the team, you know, through Champions." Because him not being there for Champions now, that's going to be very interesting to see how they do. Like, I don't think they'll have the same amount of success without their coach there. I mean, he wasn't physically there, but, like, you know, still.
Yeah,
I mean, because look, it's not like Sentinels didn't have aim like they did in Series 2 or anything like that. They were still an amazing team, like, just, you know, as it was. And Envy beat them because just, like, it was coach difference. It was quite literally coach difference in the Sentinels didn't have a coach. They probably didn't have proper counter strats against Envy. Envy came up with proper counter strats and they outplayed them on the day. And I don't think that could be anything other than Mike's kind of driving it behind the scenes. I mean, obviously the players are great, but I think Mike's was a big contributing factor in that. And I mean, like, Envy has always kind of had less than ideal management before Valorant was, before they were involved in Valorant. So, I mean, just how it is. But it's such a bad mistake from them not to pick up Mike's. And I like, good on him for getting out of there, you know, and not sticking around hoping that they would provide him with a contract after getting, you know, kind of his services for free for several months.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. The tweet was needed. But then the counter tweet from Hastro was so weird. Like, I don't understand how the CEO of an org who messed up can tweet that. Like, just apologize and say, like, just apologize. That's all you need to do at that point. Just be like, we made a mistake. We're so sorry. Please just come back and coach us.
Stay.
Like, that's all you need to say.
Honestly, God help us all if Sentinels decide to pick him up.
Oh,
like,
God.
I actually can't believe this is happening still in, like, tier 1 teams.
Yeah. Well, the politics of organizations, it is what it is. And as I say, God help us if Sentinels manage to snatch him. Because the smartest Shazam is, I mean, he managed to kind of coach them to the Masters 2 win, but Masters 3 kind of got a little bit out of hand there. So if they bring on someone that allows Shazam to just focus on his own play and like IGLing and stuff, that's going to be terrifying. All right, well, that does it for roster swap-ups at last. So now we can actually get into what we wanted to talk about. First and foremost, we're going to talk a little bit about game changers that we had over the last couple of weeks. We had NA and EMEA running kind of concurrently, and it was a really huge success. We're going to be starting with EMEA. And this is a region that a lot of people, there hadn't been a ton of eyes on the scene. We've had a few of those smaller tournaments throughout the year, but again, not a lot of people really watching and following the scene. So it was nice to really have an opportunity to showcase that. We had over 50 teams sign up, which was just absolutely wild. And here we can see the final, not the final day, but the main event, so to speak. We had that round of 16. Tell me, Twiggy, were there any kind of surprises or upsets or, any teams that really surpassed your expectations here?
I mean, obviously, Guild X going out of it so quickly was kind of a surprise. Obviously, Rich GG Lightning is a great team, though, so it was just kind of an unlucky first seeding, and obviously with a single elimination bracket that can ruin your whole kind of your whole tournament. So it's what it is. But Ten Star Nova did incredibly well. They were previously gangsters. I didn't really have them chalked down as like a tournament-winning team, but I mean, they came through. They pretty much wiped to the table with everybody in the tournament. Well, congratulations then, because I always thought of them as a brilliant team. I just didn't think coming all the way through and beating Rich GG Lightning 3-1 at the end was amazing from them.
I honestly thought Originals would just stomp their way through this entire bracket. Because they were the most dominant female team in CS, and I thought if the whole team is switching, they'll already have the synergy, they'll already have the aim. They just need to learn like some hero basics, and that should be enough to, place very high. But 10 Star actually destroyed them. Did not expect that. Yeah, that team
it was really funny
came
though.
Out of nowhere for me.
So obviously, because I've been able to cast 90% of the female tournaments that have happened in EMEA, I knew a lot about these teams. So it was really cool for me to be on the desk and have that opportunity to really talk about them. Why are we in NA? Alex, please. It was really great for me to be able to talk about the teams and tell their stories and stuff. And one of the things, I still spoke about this with Tom in the green room before we even started broadcasting. And I was like, Originals, when they were still playing under Exit, they were doing really well. Their mechanical skill got them to these top 4, top 5 places. So, with a little bit of practice, and because their biggest downfall was utility usage and actually being able to use that in an effective way to kind of get themselves control of the game. And we saw it over the weekend as well. That has been their biggest downfall. And I had said, if they had practiced that, then sure, I see them doing well. But if they haven't done that, then I'm sorry. They're they could be the best CS team in the world. And apparently they were in the female scene. But without having those kind of Valorant fundamentals and basics in terms of the actual agents and what they bring to the table and what they do, then obviously the team was going to flounder. They did really well once again to get as far as they did, just based off of their aim and raw TAC FPS generalized skill. But coming up against a team like 10 Star that have been together since the beginning of the year, I actually fought with Mitch about this on the desk. I was like, stop saying they came out of nowhere. They've been around the scene for so long. They've been doing really, really well. Man, I got so mad. But yeah, it was really cool, I thought, to see them do so well. A really surprising result for me was Oxygen losing out to Rick's GG. Oxygen, one of those teams that has been performing so well. Tom actually spoke about Ness's stats before we started, and she just had the most ridiculous stats in comparison to everyone else in the tournament. But overall, I think for the most part, we had a fairly predictable final day or main event or whatever. And I'm really hoping, so there's a lot of controversy around the second one, so we're not really going to be talking about that today. They might change that. I know that they have a meeting with all of the players today. They're going to be chatting about the next event and asking about whatever changes they want to see. But the biggest thing for me in general is I'm really hoping we get that kind of double elimination bracket and hopefully some more broadcasts, because these teams are incredibly good, and it's just going to be really nice to see more of them. All right, Alex, now we can look at NA, okay? We're going to be taking a look at what happened in Game Changers NA over the weekend. And to the surprise of no one, Cloud9 won. But apparently it's a really big deal that, I suppose it is a big deal to an extent. They dropped a map for, I believe, the very first time to Shopify Rebellion, a 3-1 final there. So as unsurprising as that was, were there any other upsets or strange happenings, teams that did better than we expected, or teams that kind of bombed where we really thought they'd do well, Twiggy?
Honestly, this is kind of exactly where I would expect most teams to fall here. Maybe, actually no. Gen.G, I was going to say Gen.G back against Shopify. Maybe they win that, but I don't know. Yeah, no, I think everything falls quite exactly where I would think. I mean, the thing is, Cloud9 White are pretty much the stage 2 sentinels of the women's scene right now, and it's like it is for every team. It's really kind of Cloud9 White. Everyone else, let's just see how we can square up against Cloud9 White at this point and see how far we can get on that. And I mean, Shopify Rebellion did do really well to get one map. I don't think it's massive news, but it's it was very well done by them. I mean, hopefully in the future we do see a little more, kind of contesting that. It does make for a great storyline, to be fair.
Yeah, I think I expected CLG to do a little bit better than they did, just because Benita is insane. Like, she has been in the scene for a long time and has just been dominating. Also, something which was a bit weird to me was that there was a 6-man roster on Shopify. Didn't expect that. Like, yeah, 6-man rosters, I'm so not sure about them right now.
Yeah.
And to see it on a female team was even weirder because a lot of the time these teams are built pretty cheap. So it's good to see someone actually like investing in like the growth of the scene.
Yeah.
Where you can have a
C9 actually
grow. Go on.
C9 White had a 6-person roster for a while, but that had a lot to do with Jazzykins being under 16. And so they had brought on Katie, who was an absolutely ridiculous jet player. And then they would bring on Jazzy for maps that, required a raise. And then there was like drama with Katie. We won't go into that again because it's done and dusted. But now they're back down to the standard 5-person roster. But yeah, I mean, it actually has been happening, which is pretty exciting to see. Now, Twiggy, I know we said that it's not major news that C9 dropped a map, but would you believe it? Nerd Street have written an article where they talk about how C9 dropped their very first map. So you guys can go and check that out. It's nerdstreet.com/news or something to that effect, or you can just go to the homepage and find it there. You will definitely find it. But there's a whole article on the North American Game Changers and how Cloud9 did and how everyone else did in comparison and how they, dropped their very first map. Now, my favorite part of this entire show, and I'm really sad that I don't have a single NA person here to fight with about it and make feel terrible, but we have NA versus EMEA, not only in the main VCT, but in Game Changers as well. We have some really fun stats here. Now, of course, this is ACS, which is arguably not the best statistic to look at to compare players, but it is nice to just see those big numbers. And if Alex could just put that picture up there, we could actually take a look at that tweet. Come on, buddy. There we go. So we had Anya, who is actually the newest player on Origins. So Origins is completely the old X-Head roster with one change in that they brought in Anya because one of the players had decided to kind of step down from competing, or at least with that roster. I don't know if she stepped down forever. But Anya came in at the very top with, I believe it was a 305 ACS, followed by, the tweet starts with NA for some freaking reason. But the top 5 performers are all EMEA players. Anya from Originals, Smifet from Guild, Ness from Oxygen, Tuki Tuki, who's actually a Sova player from Giants, and then Kla from 10 Star, who are our champions. The best North American player in Jazzykins from Cloud9 would rank 6th in EMEA. All right, that's just me having some fun. I don't know if these stats actually tell us anything. Tani, you would probably be able to say more about what these stats actually mean and if they mean anything, but it is nice to look at.
I mean, I think it doesn't mean a whole lot because I think the competition in NA is a lot closer, apart from Cloud9, obviously. So you can't have that sort of like stomp that you can in EU. which is what I think happened to a lot of the teams that got 2-0'd and they weren't super close either. It was like 13-2, 13-3 sort of maps. Seeing 2 Turkish Jets on the top 5 is not surprising to me. It doesn't matter what gender you are. If you're Turkish and you play Jet,
Yes.
you'd be insane. Like, it's just...
I need to apply for nationality
it's just
there,
a rule
seriously.
of life. I think it's one of Newton's laws. I'm not entirely sure. Like,
Oh my god.
so yeah, that's not too surprising. Seeing Anya on the top is a little bit surprising. But seeing Kla on the top 5 is not at all. She popped off so hard in the finals.
Dude,
as well.
she's crazy.
That was insane. That was like absolutely insane performance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's so humble as well. It was
yeah.
adorable. Sorry, I'll let you talk in a sec. But like
No.
Yinsu interviewed her, and she was like, a lot of people have said you're the best Raze in EMEA. You know, would you agree with that in the female region? And she's like, oh no, there's a lot of really good duelists or whatever. I don't think I'm the best. And Tom was just like, I am hard pressed to find a duelist better than her. Never mind just a Raze. So yeah, pretty freaking humble there. Sorry, Togi, what were you saying?
Yeah, no, I mean, ACS is always a good kind of a thing to look at, like, oh, this person's doing incredibly well. But yeah, in the end, it does kind of measure 2 things, and that is how well the team, how good the team is compared to the other team, and essentially more like how you delegate your roles in the team. So the duelist is always going to have a higher ACS because they involve themselves in kills more often. But I mean, yeah, would I say Cloud9 is categorically worse than 5 EU teams based off of this? No, but I mean, it does tell you that we do have some incredible players in EU at the very least.
Yeah. I mean, it's really cool. So Tuki and Lori, who's also in the top 5, they're both Sova players. The rest are all duelists as far as I know, but it's nice to see some supportive characters up there. Sorry, Tanya, you were going to say something.
I said, what I want to see at Champions is just fly Cloud9 out to Berlin, get 10-star there as well. I just want to see them versus each other, see how they match up.
I'd love that.
It would be so amazing. That would be the best.
No, not even a show match. No one takes show matches seriously. Actual match. Put up some prize money, you know?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's a single elimination two-team bracket.
Yeah, but just a head-on-head match. I think that'd be great.
I mean, a lot of people have been saying they really hope that Game Changers moves in the direction similarly to VCT. So there's like an international LAN event. I think we haven't had Game Changers in enough regions yet. I know there's one in SEA, which encompasses a bunch of countries, I believe. And then, of course, we've just had EMEA, the very first one, and then NA have been going for the whole year. But it would be really cool if we could get something like that going and actually see the international women's competition head to head, one against each other. All right. With just a few minutes left, we are going to get into the most exciting news, I suppose, coming up for this week, and that is that it is Last Chance Qualifiers. A few teams left behind that are kind of fighting out for that last opportunity to actually get into Masters. We're going to be starting off with NA, and this has been a really unfortunate one because the 2 OCE teams were unable to travel to compete, and that was Order and Chief. So that's, of course, made the bracket smaller than what we would have liked to have seen. But overall, this is a pretty stacked bracket. So if we kind of go through this, I don't know, only one team can make it. Who do you guys think comes out on top here?
Oh man, that's difficult. I mean, like, okay, so 100 Thieves are the one here that got into Masters last time, but they've made some changes. Maybe they've got a honeymoon period coming up. We'll see how that works out. But I mean, there are other teams here that are definitely on their way to being able to do that. I mean, I could see XSET coming through all the way. I could see Genji doing something new with Temperature at the very least. But I think 100 Thieves just about eke it out.
I think it's going to be close between 100 Thieves and FaZe. I don't know if I'm just really biased because I want the FaZe guys to do well since I know them all from Overwatch.
Oh, I feel that, yeah.
Like Baby Bay was even on my team in Overwatch.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, there's probably a bit of bias going on there, but I hope they get to the finals at least. I love the way that they play, and I love the personalities on the team as well. So with the new coach, maybe they just have a bit of a honeymoon period and make it through.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, a new coach that kind of gives them that second wind that they need to push through. Because I'll be honest, version 1, I know that they're slightly being picked apart. I know Jammies was playing with some other teams recently. So the version 1 squad, I'm not too sure how much. I know they just picked up Odorous. It happened like just as we went live, because teams love announcing things as we go live. But they've just picked up Odorous, which is pretty cool. But in general, I don't know how much faith I have in that roster. And we've kind of said about Cloud9 as well, where they're always there, but they never seem to make the impact that they want to. Rise has always been a really good squad, but I don't see them as the best out of these 8, which makes it really difficult. I suppose for me, it's between probably Xset and FaZe. Xset have looked so good, and they've always kind of been that, I don't know, always the bridesmaid, ever the bride kind of vibe. So I'm really hoping that they can pull something together here and push through, get to that last spot. If I have to go for the team that I want, just purely out of I really like this team, it's gonna be FaZe. Also, Overwatch background, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But, we'll see how that actually winds up going. Next up, we have EMEA. And for the first time ever, we get to just breeze past NA with barely any discussion and actually go in depth into EMEA. Can Mike just be gone? Alex, can we just have Mike be gone for like another 3 weeks or so? Yeah, so finally we get to talk a little bit about EMEA and get kind of deep in there. So this is what the bracket looks like. Some really strong teams. And what surprised me, I don't know if this was a surprise for you guys, but to see Anubis Gaming make it here to the LCQ. I know they did really well on the campus clash that thing, and they wound up winning it, but I don't know, I didn't really see them coming out into LCQ. Tanny, what do you think?
I saw them coming out into LCQ just because they absolutely stomped everyone in their own region. Like, it wasn't even close in all of their games, and then coming into this, what do you call it, whatever the Arabian Strike Arabia, I think it was called.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
God, that tournament.
No.
Yeah, so that was a mess. I don't know what was going on with the production there, and like half the teams being at LAN and the other half deciding, you know
The
what,
top
we're just
4
gonna
not
play
being
from
at
home.
LAN.
Yeah.
And then like the LAN setup was really bad, and there was like 4 FPS
Yeah,
PCs, and
honestly, if you ever have the option to be at LAN and not be at LAN, every team should just pick to not go, because there will always be some tech issue or something at LAN, and it's just so unfair if you don't have to deal with it, but everyone else does.
Yeah, I'm honestly not that surprised that the teams who all the podium teams were not on LAN. But I mean, Arabia, I think they would have won on LAN anyway. To be honest,
Yeah.
they have just been wiping the floor with pretty much everybody in the MENA region. So
I think it's why people think, Shalabi and the people on that team are like super, super good, because they've just been destroying everyone. But when you actually put it up against EU talent, it's kind of average, actually. It's nothing substantial.
And again, I suppose being involved in the scene in a general sense, you would know a little bit more about One Breath Gaming, because this is another team that was not really on my radar. What do you know about them, Tanny?
I mean, they have 3 people from Fours, and Fours is, honestly, if I had to guess the weakest team coming into this, apart from Anubis, it would be Fours. So now that they've taken 3 people from Fours, gotten rid of their best player, and put them with 2 other people from OVG, I'm not sure what they expect to do at this event. They face up against Liquid, and then if they win against Liquid by some miracle, which can happen. I mean, Na'Vi won against Liquid. Like, then they have to come up against us or Guild, and I don't think there's any chance they win that matchup.
yeah,
Oof.
Yeah,
So...
I mean,
Yeah, I remember one. Go on.
It's the fact that they took back 2 players that they released when they kind of like stepped back. The fact that they took 3 players from Force to get their circuit points, and then just went, you guys come back here. Maybe not the best sign that they're going to do incredibly well in the tournament, but who knows? You never know. These could be like the chemistry.
it feels like it wasn't a plan from the start. It's
Yeah,
like, oh,
exactly.
Forza disbanding. Let's just steal some players, get a
Just
spot,
grab 'em.
so we can. Yeah, and I don't know if you saw
Oh,
the
God.
announcements for it either. The announcements were
Mm-mm.
so bad. It was like in a Twitter thread, and it was like the 4th tweet in the thread, and they didn't even tag the player announcing
Oh,
him.
no.
Like, that's
Oh,
why like
that's-
loads of
that's-
people kept on missing the announcement. And being like, "Oh yeah, sources say this has happened." And I'm like, "Bro, it's been announced."
Sources, the fourth
Like, what
tweet.
sources? Like, they just didn't read through the entire tweet
Oh,
chain
no.
for one player announcement, you know?
Oh,
I
there
don't
were
know.
Overwatch
Like, it
teams that did that
genuinely,
as well. Oh,
yeah, it feels like it was such a last minute thing, and they had no plan to actually do this at the end of 2021.
Mm.
So odd.
jeez. And I remember this was the hopium for FPX as well. Everyone was like, "Oh, if they don't get the points, then FPX are an LCQ," and well, that didn't wind up happening. It's really unfortunate. All right, with the little bit of time that we have left, let's go through everyone's pick'ems. I really hope that Alex has this set up to who they actually belong to, so that's going to be fun. Throw up a pick'em,
Yes.
Alex, and we'll figure out whose pick'em it is. If you can tell us,
Yeah.
that would also be helpful. But
Wow, whose could this be?
okay. I wonder whose
Oh,
this
I
is.
wonder.
Who has supermassive bias on this
Hmm.
desk?
Hmm.
Run us through it, Tani. What are you thinking?
Wait a second. Is this even mine?
I don't know. Is it?
It's not mine.
There's no
mine?
way I
Hold up.
picked Guild to win over Liquid. There is no way.
Yeah, I
Let me
didn't
check,
pick that
let me
either.
check.
No shot I picked that.
Guild. Bro, this is yours.
Why would
Tony,
I
what
put...
are you doing, man? What are you
Wait,
doing?
Why would I
Wait,
put
wait.
ourselves
No,
in...
wait. Hold up. This could be mine.
Yeah,
This
okay,
is
I
mine.
was like, why
How
would I
do
put
our
us in the
pick'ems
lower
so
bracket?
similar? What? How are our pick'ems so similar? Okay, yeah, this is my one. Good grief.
Okay.
It says Sam. Does it? Where does it
Oh
say
my
Sam?
God.
All right, well, this is my pick'em. Holy. All right, apparently Teddy and I have almost the exact same pick'em, except that I am on hard Guild Hopium. That's actually why I picked Guild to go over Liquid. All the what do you mean you don't have Tannies, Alex? I sent it. Oh my god. I'm just gonna send that to him in a second. But yeah, I'm big on the Guild Hopium. But SMB were looking really, really good in the last Masters. So yeah, kind of expecting some good results there. All right, Alex, throw up the next one, Twiggies, and I will send you Tannies in the interim.
Hey, so Tennis, look, if I'd known I was going to be on here with you, might not have turned out like this, but you know,
Oh no.
is how it
not
is.
like
I mean,
this.
I'm very
Not like
sorry. I'm very,
this.
very sorry.
You think we
Not
used to
like
kill
this.
twice?
You had Guild beating Supermassive Blaze? Okay.
Twice,
Look,
not even
man,
Give us your
once.
rationale. We need it.
Once
look,
I could
okay,
understand.
Hey, look, I love Supermassive Blaze so much. You know what? It was a misclick twice, and no, but look,
sure.
I've just Guild did display some signs to me that they would play incredibly well in LCQs. I mean, they are definitely. I think it's even you can agree they are a brilliant team. Even if Supermassive Blaze is definitely better. I
Gradually nods
apologize.
his head.
Yeah.
The team is odd because the team is really good, but they're never
yeah,
at the top.
sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
Like-
they're very unconventional. I think is a word I'd go for, which is why they don't always come out on top.
And I
It's
I
funny
feel their
though,
game
because so
style
in the
is-
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go on. Okay. Yeah, the game style is pretty predictable. I think that's their biggest downside in just how they
Yeah.
play. And we've exploited that before, like even on Heretics when we used to come up against them in like Masters 1 or whatever. We completely exploited that and the maps weren't close. Like if you just know what they do, it's gonna be pretty easy. And maybe they've changed something up. I don't know. Obviously we don't scrim them. Like we don't
Obviously.
scrim like Liquid, G2 or Guild. Because those are like 3 teams we would have to play to qualify basically.
Oh, there we go. There's Tanny's bracket.
Hey.
There you go. Yeah, my one is obviously just SME winning. But I think Liquid will make it far until they get to G2, and then they'll lose to G2.
I'm glad we all agree that G2 are just going to go straight to the grand final through the upper bracket, no matter what.
Yeah.
So.
No. We had G2 going down in the upper final. All right, not straight to the because SMB. So.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Of
sorry.
course.
Yeah. Obviously.
Yeah, of course. SMB best team, obviously.
Yeah.
I actually so just about my guild Hopium, I don't know if you guys noticed in the beginning of the show, there's a part where Mike is like, Sam, defend your team because they haven't been winning anything. That is from months ago when guild was still bonk. And I was like, I love bonk. Bonk are gonna do well in this tournament. And for like, I don't know, 2 months straight, they just never won. And eventually Mike was like, you have to defend your team. So yeah, I've been on the guild Hopium for quite some time now. Now, before we do actually have to kind of wrap this one up, I did want to kind of ask you, Tani, obviously with SMB, everyone from the beginning, everyone's been like, this is the Turkish super team. And these are some players that you've worked with previously as well. So like, did you expect coming into this team that they would do this well? Kind of, how has your feeling been about the team and around it? Because I know you also tweeted recently that you're looking at other opportunities. So like,
yeah,
I know you probably can't divulge too much, but what can you tell us about that?
I expected the team to be pretty good. I think I helped like elevate them. Well, I'd like to think I helped elevate them to actually like qualify to Masters, because the way they were playing in Turkey wasn't super like what's the word, clean. They would make mistakes which would lose them rounds, even maps. And if you look at the score lines versus Turkish teams, they barely made it into EMEA playoffs. Actually, it was like 3-2 versus Footballist, like 2-1 double overtime versus Oxygen, stuff like that. But then when we actually started working together, we had a little bit of a break, and team went to boot camp, and they were pretty receptive of feedback. Then they started to improve, and you got the cleaner score lines like versus FPX and G2, and even Ascend to like some degree. But if you have two Turkish jets versus each other, that's always going to be a bit of a mess. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel going into Last Chance Qualifier, because I don't want to say too much, but the team has been having like a couple issues recently, like not only like in game but like outside of the game, because of like some personal things. So we haven't been able to actually practice a whole lot recently. I mean, when we do practice, it goes great, but you do need to put that time in, which is hard to find right now. I think if we win the first match versus Guild, I think we'll carry that momentum going into the match versus Liquid and hopefully G2. I think if we end up losing that first match, then it's going to be a little bit harder making the lower bracket run, just given what's going on in people's lives right now.
All right, well, we wish you the best of luck.
Yeah.
Oh, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, I was LFT because I can't stay on a Turkish team indefinitely. Like, I need to be on a team which speaks English, hopefully.
Oof, okay, yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But in EU, it's looking sparse.
Tell me about it. As a caster, I feel it. But yeah, we wish you the best of luck into... Dude, I've been living in NA. I do an NA podcast. And like, yeah. Anyways, we have run out of time. So yeah, good luck at LCQ. And we have some highlights, a little bit of a recap video from Game Changers NA, because of course Nerd Street run the broadcast of that, so no bias whatsoever. But we're going to roll you out with those so you can see what you missed over the weekend. And remember to join us again next week, every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. CEST, or whatever 1 hour ago is in your time zone. And hopefully we'll see you next week. Have a great week and enjoy LCQ. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Rain's gonna have to go big. She spotted one, able to land the second one. Really gained much ground from it. Oh, that's beautiful. Chobo coming up huge. Oh, we swap sides on it. Starlight will fall. Get triggered, has herself a huge round with 3 kills on it. And a different spot, and Anna comes from the top row. They will take down Panini.
Do a pop, a cap is out. No more birds, no more flashes, and that's Exit just defending the site completely here.
Work to stay alive coming out from Marine, and she's good for one. Sorrybun gets a second as well. She's gonna have a chance at more. 2, looking for 3. Yeah, baby. She will fall. The Viper's pit going to follow. And it puts CLG still the winning spot in fourth. Exit, they've already lost one. Remember, they only have pistols, and it just went from bad to worse.
Now, and she's got the ult, as you mentioned earlier.
Nice. The lurk kill right now from the garage side. That drops 2. Gets the third. Go for the triple swing. As soon as Nahan lands down, there's the first kill. There's that second swing. She does get the second kill though. 34 HP. Jazzikins has to play the clock as Nahan is creeping up towards the site. Inside the tube, lands the headshot for her 4K and the clutch. Alexis with 2 guided lights actually. There's the first kill. Looks back towards that right. The flick then onto Panini and gets the clutch.
Panini left no util to throw onto that spike. Great pick onto... Oh no! Panini's doing it. Can she find the last remaining? He doesn't know where the last player is. But Panini will find... Look at the attacking side, attacking into the mid. Oh, KP. And in fact, they're just going for it here. Katsumi is going to annihilate this. Oh my god. I start seeing those come through. Great position for KP. Doesn't miss those ones. KP with the triple. To KP once again. 1 versus 2 to keep them and their chances alive. But it's not. Their chances are gone. And once again, Cloud9 White are your Game Changers champions.